All right, hey everybody, and welcome to the 90-minute art challenge with me, Bobby Chu, and my co-host Masei Seki.
Hello.
Yes, this is gonna be a fun one. Let's take a look at today's challenge and let's talk about how this all works. Okay, so every week we come up with an image, okay, to study from. This week's image is from Yan from Asia somewhere. I forget, but he has the most wonderful wildlife images, and is on Instagram as well. So go check him out. And 90-minute art challenge on Tumblr is what you want to search, and then you can find all the new images for that week. Okay, and then after you're done doing those images and creating your own versions, then you can upload it to Instagram. Okay, and hashtag it 90-minute art challenge. Now usually we would keep scrolling down and we would see all the new entries for the 90-minute art challenge. But look at this, Masay. It's like temporarily hiding all hashtags due to the election, due to the American elections,
Oh,
which I was like, whoa, that's heavy duty, because, like, how many of us are not even American here? But okay, anyways, the cool thing is that that didn't stop me. I went and I found some anyways, because people would tag us,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
that's
So
true.
that's a really good backup plan to tag us on Instagram, and then we could show them anyways. So look at this one. Lovely.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. So amazing.
Cute, yes. And then this was very much the challenge that we took on ourselves, which was very, very
Mhm.
difficult, right? 100% opaquity, 100% flow, constantly changing the hues and the saturation and trying to use values to keep it all together.
Mhm.
Extremely difficult, extremely difficult. Way to go. A little bit more of a straight on, right?
Nice.
Straight on study. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Another one. It's great.
Wow.
Really
That's
nice
like
to
a
see. It's really nice to see the
uh-huh.
differences. Traditional, traditional.
Yay. Traditional's always a challenge too.
Yes. And then look at this one. Another lovely
Uh,
version.
mhm.
Fantastic. So way to go, everybody. That was really some really, really great entries. And yeah, so we're about to do our 90-minute art challenge, and you can go ahead and you can start as well. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one. I would love to see what our sorcerer bunny wizard says about this challenge here.
Well, let's see. No nose, arms, ears, legs. Seems pretty simple to me.
Wow. Again, Bunny Wizard. It's tough, tough cookie.
Yeah.
You know, I see what he's saying though, and that's why in my version today, Masay, I do something completely imaginative, straight off the top of my head.
So you mean to say that you can paint whatever you want? No rules? Seems even simpler.
Um, okay.
Oh,
I'm
what
starting to
for?
question. I'm starting to question the bunny wizard, but
Yeah.
he is a bunny wizard. He knows what he's saying. So either way, it's good to be able to take on kind of like negative comments, negative energy, even if it's just a little bit, and
Mhm.
push past that,
Mhm.
right? Because life is not full of nothing but encouraging people.
Yeah, that is
There's
true.
lots of doubters, there's lots of haters.
And I think it's good because you can't always have the good. You need the bad in order to appreciate the good.
Love it. Yeah, fantastic. Do you have you ever had any haters, any kind of experiences with that, and like what did you end up doing?
um, I personally haven't had people come to me directly or message me directly, but maybe, you know, I'll get there eventually when people start hating on my work, because, you know, it's like for now there's a lot of good vibe people, but then eventually I'm sure there's gonna be trolls coming up
Yeah.
saying all these mean things.
Well, some people, they say, "Oh, that's a sign that you've made it, right? That's a sign that
Yeah.
you made it." I don't know about that. I don't really like that idea. But
But yeah.
yeah, the other kind of things I want to mention here before we get into Discord, okay? One is, what program is this? And so, oh, by the way, today, I'm doing something totally imaginative. Masay is doing a straight study. So now you get to see both sides, which will be really fun and interesting to talk about. But also, I want to mention that we are painting this at the exact same time. How are we doing this? Through a free program, our program called Magma Studio.io. If you go to www.magmastudio.io, you can paint and draw with your friends for free at the exact same time, which makes things so much more fun, so much more motivating, right? And that's going to be fantastic. You can also follow us on Instagram. You can see under our little monitors here, Digital Bobbert and Masay Seki. You could go follow us on Instagram. And then Slido. I want to say slido.com is where you can ask questions. And you can see where it says questions on the screen. If you go to www.slido.com, #ChooseStream, you could type in all your questions there, and we'll be happy to answer as many as we can. And then also, we have been on such a huge Schoolism binge lately, doing Wouter Tulp's course, trying to get re-inspired. That's what I was trying to do for the longest time. I just didn't feel like painting anything. I didn't feel like drawing anything. I didn't feel like anything that I wanted to paint and draw really was worth doing, right? And so I went to the artist workouts in Schoolism, and it's just a very simple and powerful way to get re-inspired, because you see artists doing the workouts that they've designed for you, and you don't have to kind of really think about what you need to draw, what you need to paint. You just start doing those workouts, and then when the thing is done, you're done, which I love. Because I don't have time to do homework. I don't have time to study and all these other things. Not as much before.
Right. Yeah. And it's also great because they're explaining as they do the demo, like what they're thinking. And sometimes they do bring up things that they brought up from their other classes. So you get to do the whole workout while learning at the same time, which is pretty awesome.
I did find that, it did help. If I look back at the courses, a lot of these workouts that have been created also align with many of the courses that the teachers have taught as well, like Nathan Fowkes, his environment design, his color and light workout. They all coincide with his courses.
That's true.
Anyhow, shall we hop on to let's hop on to Discord now, shall we?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so we also have the Discord here, and you can see in the bottom of the screen it says Discord, and then it has the hash or the bit.ly URL to join in on Discord. And you can see you can type in, this is in the shared links where all these people are showing all their various images and artwork and fun stuff. It's a community, it's fun, right? And then you can go into the chat and join us in the chat, and not just join us in the chat, but you could literally like paint and draw and join us in the chat. You can see that there's some with multiple people studying all together, which is really nice to see. And then some that I assume are, this person is doing something solo, which is wonderful. There you go. So why don't we go to back to the painting. Here we go.
Okay.
All right, so you started with a blurry image. Maybe we could talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit. That's a soft edge brush, correct?
That one, oh, I don't know. Do you hear a voice playback of myself? I hear myself talking.
Oh, that's odd. I don't. Maybe it's Zoom. Not too sure, but
Hello.
hi.
Yeah, I keep hearing myself.
Oh, weird.
It's weird.
If you want, you could sign off of Zoom and log back in. I'll let you back in.
Check.
All right. So as Mercedes figuring that out, we can go to the first.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's like,
Oh, no problem.
difficult.
Okay, so as we go to the very first question here, this question is from Slido, okay, and Elise is saying, do you know this artist called Minna Sundberg? Have you thought about interviewing her? She's an amazing comic illustrator. That's another thing I love about these streams here, is that you can discover all sorts of new artists. So I just looked up her name, Minna Sundberg. Fantastic page. Wow. That is so much fun. Definitely gonna follow this person. Humming Fluff on Instagram. Gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. Comics is totally like one of the hardest freaking things that you could possibly do. All right, how's it going, Masay? You got everything fixed yet?
I'm not sure if, like in the LBX live, sometimes that can happen. So if you stop watching the stream, I think it might help, if that's the problem.
Oh, okay.
Well, look like
well, I'm just gonna mute the mic on Masay's side for a second. Masay, you just let me know when things are working. If you need to disconnect from Zoom, you could do that as well. All right. Well, no problem. You do your thing. And so I will rely on the wonderful people in Discord to come and hang out and keep the conversations going, shall we?
Yay.
Count on us.
Yay. Who's this?
I am Weena.
Oh, hi, Weena. Wonderful.
Hello.
Awesome.
Just recently taking your Schoolism course.
Oh, fantastic. And today
Yes.
must be an amazing day. I don't know if you guys could hear, but I have like drilling just on the other side of this wall. So if you guys hear any
Just
renovations, yeah.
Don't worry, it's not too distracting.
Okay, yeah, please forgive. It's not the normal thing.
Melody to my ears.
You said that comics is a really difficult medium to go into. Do you mean like financially it's really tricky to make a name for yourself, or it's just hard in general?
I think
to
all
make
of
comics?
the above. They have nothing but my respect because, first of all, yeah, the financial part, it's not very good financially in general. You've probably heard
Right.
about it, right? And like how much you get paid per page and
Per
things like that.
page.
And then the whole entire thing is, it's like, well, no, you make your money from selling your originals or doing commissions because you work on that property. But that shouldn't be the case, right? Like you should be making the money from doing the work for the company. But I get it. If the money isn't there, if people aren't selling or buying as many comic books as before, then that makes sense as well. But I have heard a lot of very good things about young adult readers. Young adult readers, those graphic novels seem to do very, very well. That's what I've heard. Like people can really, really make an amazing, amazing, salary or whatnot if they get into young adults. From what I heard, you could put in the comments, but I've heard a few very successful people. Victoria Ying is now in young adults. She moved from movies into, young adult graphic novels. So there must be a good reason. The other part to this is, why is it also challenging? It's because you are the director, you are the storyboard artist, you are the character designer most of the time, you're the environment designer, you're everything. And storyboards in comics no longer has set dimensions. You can do all sorts of stuff. You could do diagonal panels that are thin, and then they go into these big splash pages and all sorts. So, geez, that level of
yeah.
storytelling, nothing but respect there. Hey, Masay,
Yeah.
how's things going? Are you good now?
So I'm not sure if it's coming from your computer, where even anyone that talks on Discord, I hear their echo, like their voice twice.
Oh, okay. What
Unless,
about now? Now you should be fine. I think it was me. I am so sorry.
check.
I think it was Zoom.
Okay.
That's what it was. It was on my side. I was making sure that you could hear computer sound. So,
Sorry, no, I still hear it.
I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe yeah, you still hear stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about.
No, I totally think it's on my side. My
Oh,
bad.
I think it's fixed. Oh no,
It's
not.
fixed, right? Or no?
No,
Oh,
I
jeez.
still hear myself.
Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Now. You're good.
Hello.
All
Oh,
right, you're good.
yay! I don't hear myself.
It was me, guys. I apologize. It's on my side. All right.
Okay. I don't know if you want to fix the little bottom section of our videos.
Oh, yes. I should do that too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you kind of like cringe when you hear your own voice. So it's like as soon as I talk, I hear myself talk, and then it makes me not want to say anything at all.
Well, your voice is perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were just talking about a bunch of stuff in Discord as well, and we could keep the conversations going, everybody in Discord.
Yes.
Weena was just saying, it's like if I could go further in explaining why I think comic books are so difficult,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was just saying, well, it's not just because she was asking, is it the financial thing? Is it technical? I was saying both. It really is both. What's
Yeah.
another kind of facet of art that you feel is extremely difficult, Masay?
2D animators,
Mm.
like traditional hand-drawn animators.
I was literally thinking 2D animation as well, just because of the
Yeah.
amount of work it takes to, put into it, and then
Yeah.
it's over like real quick. Yeah, and both of us, we've had experience, doing 2D animation, and just animation in
Mm-hmm.
general. It,
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite the hobby or interest or whatever. Like you are putting in a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like you're just drawing yeah, you're literally drawing this perfect piece like many, many times only for it to, be over in like a split second. So yeah, it's one of those things that you have to really enjoy for you to be able to continue it. And I'm guessing that's the same as comic book artists. Like they love it so much, even though they realize it's a lot of work. Um, it's it's just what makes them, happy to draw.
Yeah, but and not to deter anybody because it is a very rewarding
Hmm.
profession as well. I gotta say, Y- you know, hey, look, you want to make a game, you want to make your own game. Good luck, because who's giving you the money? What are they gonna say about the game? What's the director going to say about the game? What's all these other people going to, what's marketing going to say about the game, and all of a sudden change your game because of marketing? Directors for movies, all sorts. And then you have comic books, right? I have
Mm,
myself a comic book idea. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it out there. Lots of people do that. And I could tell you from my own experience coming up with Nico and the Sword of Light, with my wonderful, wonderful longtime friends, Jim Bryson and Adam Jeffcoat, and then my partner in life, Chaos Dara. Putting it out there, finishing it, putting it out there was
mm,
such a gratifying experience.
mm,
It's like a lot of these wonderful feelings that we get. I think the most valuable ones are the ones that we can't get unless we've suffered.
mm,
You like
mhm.
that statement? Do you believe that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It's like how we kind of started our stream, where you kind of have to experience the bad to appreciate the good.
Yeah, somebody else was gonna mention something in Discord, huh? Did I hear some other voice out there? All right, guess not. But yeah, like the whole idea of suffering, and you keep going, and then you come out, you're done, you've accomplished whatever. Like
Hmm.
that's something that you can't buy, um, which is awesome. It's just such an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to say something, but my mic wasn't working.
Oh, no problem. You wanted to add
Um,
something?
yeah, I'm trying to do comics, web comics with animation.
Oh, wow, you jumped into the deep end. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right.
But I was thinking about approaching it like with a Patreon, so people could support me that way,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
like just
Yeah.
showing the process and pay what you want sort of thing.
So the questions in my mind right away is like, what is the stuff that people aren't gonna have to pay for versus
Right.
paying for, because it's it's going to be way harder to grow an audience if everything is you have to pay for it.
So do you think the pay what you want model is not good in the beginning? Do you think it should be something more specific?
I My own feelings about this, I'd love to hear Masae's as well, but my own feelings is that you can start with pay what you want, but and that might be the right way to go. It totally might. The things on the other side of, or the stuff on the other side of the coin is, okay, if I start this, I'm gonna have to keep going on this, even though in the beginning it's not worth my while at all because I have 5 Patreon, followers or whatever, and so now I'm getting paid, extremely under minimum wage to put out each of these panels, right? And because
Mhm.
they're animated too.
Right.
But on the other
Well,
side,
not necessarily every panel. It would just be key panels.
okay, sure. Well,
Yeah.
you know, either way, comics is already quite a lot of work. Animated key panels is a lot of work as well. Yeah, so the other part about this is that, hey, it could be very viral because it's animated, right? When we did our animated comic book, it was extra viral because of all the tech people and all the animation lovers that love the idea of an animated comic book, right? As opposed to love the idea of Nico and the Sword of Light. So you could think about it like that as well. I feel like if you are a veteran, you know, you got your chops down, animation does not take you that long anymore, drawing doesn't take you that long anymore, then yeah, it could be a really good idea.
Okay.
However, if you're starting off, you just got out of college, you're not that hot yet, you know, you can't make those quotas that the professionals make yet, you could still be in for a really good ride, but the beginning is probably going to be very bumpy for very long.
Yeah, that's how it's been feeling. I'm a year out of college, so yeah. What is the professional workflow time, I guess, approach, would you say, to that?
To animated comic book, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like for our one animated comic book, but ours was fully animated, every panel. Took us 2 years. 2 years on and off. You know, late nights, weekends. That's all we were doing for 2 years before we put out one comic book.
Wow.
How many people were working on it?
There's 4 main people, but then towards the end we also brought in extra animators, we brought in, you know, sound people as well.
So what was your tasks during that?
Like, well, we were the story people. Jim Bryson and Adam Jeffcoat, they did a lot of the kind of like the story panels and how it's going to go, and then that would be given to the animators to animate, right? And we're essentially the directors, plus the artists, I guess, for a lot of it too.
All in one.
So you just had to keep the consistency with everybody's like work together.
Well, and also we're still painting and drawing it ourselves,
Right.
so it's definitely not just doing this now. It was very much like nonstop for 2 years, right? Hoping that and believing that this thing is not going to be a waste of our time.
Yeah, that's definitely the scariest part.
It can be very scary because also when we put the thing out, when we put out the graphic, you know, the animated comic book, it didn't do well in sales. You know, because think about it, well, how are people going to find your comic book if it's not on front page, if it's not whatever? Like, how are they going to find it through the App Store or because of you? And if your followers, if your reach is not that big, then how's it going to get out there? Now,
Right.
before everybody just says, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that. We did it anyways. We knew that this is going to happen, and even with our reach, it can still be difficult. But the thing is, good things generally they float to the top. So you just gotta have the faith, make the thing, make it in a way where you feel like it's not just up to par, but now you're doing something different. Now you're doing something that the world has never seen before, and hey, also, for me, I was ready to make another animated comic book. I don't know about everybody else, but I was like ready. I was like, if this doesn't hit, I'm ready to make another one until they hit. Something hits. And like if you have that kind of attitude, you'll go very, very far. I really believe.
Don't stop.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and rest always feels the best when it's earned. You know, like we're talking about the satisfaction of this, yeah, the satisfactory feeling that you get after really suffering and pushing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a good piece of chocolate. You appreciate it a lot more after you worked really hard.
Or you go for a long freaking run and you run all the way back home and you're like, ah, that feels great, right? That sleep
Yeah.
or whatever, that nap that night is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Even though during the whole process you're like dreading it and like you're just like, why am I doing this to myself? But you know, in the end,
that was me
it's
at this
pretty
point right now. It's like, why am I doing this to myself? I don't even know what I'm gonna paint. This is coming straight out of my head. It's looking like a Muppet. What did I just do? I remember that's what I was thinking.
Oh, really? I thought you were doing great at this point. When I looked over, I'm like, wow, he's already adding the light. He has like a full form. And to myself, I was thinking like, why did I even choose this subject?
Oh, that's so
I've
funny.
never really painted a snake or anything of this shape, so
I was
it was
surprised you
hard.
picked this subject too, but I was just assuming, all right, yeah, Miss A is challenging herself. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's because well, first it's an animal that I've never really drawn before, and two, I thought the color of the snake was pretty neat, like the whole transition from the belly to the back, and then at the same time there's like the scale, so it's like how do you figure that part out? So it was pretty fun.
Was there anything interesting that you observed or learned or, you know, whatnot throughout this process, like especially with perhaps like lighting value relationships or color relationships, like things that looked turquoise but wasn't turquoise or vice versa?
Yeah, it was really hard to get the yellow belly side because it looked yellow, but then it was just like a desaturated like green, but a bit onto the yellow side. So I'm sure you're gonna see this in the video, but I kind of tweak it here and there. I like paint over it a couple times just to get it right. So what I learned from this was I wish if I were to do it again, I would try to get the base color a bit more solid so that you know everything after that comes a bit more easily than me trying to like tweak everything around.
You know what I kind of liked about it was that you were tweaking things all the time. You know, like you didn't set in stone the colors that you're going to use. Right? And I remember a few challenges before this, number 18 with Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
Right? And you know, when you're putting in the features of the face of the character, they're put in very concretely. Right? Like there's little room for adjustments after that, which is totally fine as long as you nail it.
Yeah.
But when you kind of try to really nail it, a lot of times it takes us even more time, right? To be very, very specific than to just sketch it in.
Yeah. I think the approach for the number 18 challenge, when I just like solidified the dark side and the light side, it did kind of restrict me from being a bit more flexible. So
this one you're very flexible because you're constantly changing it.
And like the form, like I realized like, oh, this doesn't look, you know, square enough, or like maybe this should be more rounded. I think especially for this subject, I had to kind of be a bit more, you know, I had to tweak it a bit more.
I really appreciated the texture in this subject, because you got the rock
Mm-hmm.
texture, and then you have the
Mm-hmm.
snake texture, which, you know, it's very specific because you got scales that are put together in a very specific way for, you know, functionality, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you draw a little scale and big scales and little scales, it's not going to look right. It's got to be,
Mm,
it's got to make sense.
yeah. It's and especially the pattern, it's very tempting to just do cross hatching, but I took the time to do like little indication to suggest that they're skills.
It
So,
really paid off too. So, you know, people that are doing this, pay attention to that, especially towards the end of how Massey does the scales and everything. Yeah, to show the indication that these scales are not just lines going across these shapes, but it's wrapping around a cylindrical shape, right?
mm-hmm.
Around the snake.
Yeah,
Now,
challenging but fun.
it was, well, not according to the bunny wizard, but
Yeah, that's true.
to us it's challenging. All right, let's go to a question. A Rasp Pencil says on Slido.com, you could go to Slido.com, hashtag ChewStream, ask your questions. Says, just wanted to ask, what are the stages you follow in developing your painting? Wonderful. Well, I've been experimenting all over the place. So I've been just kind of going at things in all sorts of different ways, which has been really, really fun and refreshing for me. So, I don't know if I could really answer that. Because, like, these ones, I'm doing straight to color. Sometimes I go grayscale,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Lately, I've been doing just black or white, Massey. I'll show you
Oh,
later
nice.
the painting. Oh, actually, I could probably show you in a tiny little form my little traditional painting. You can't even see it. It's tiny little.
Nice.
Oh, jeez. Very good.
Oh, it's so cute. That's awesome.
Thanks. It's just a work in progress currently, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so I think the main thing here is practice a technique. You know, it's very simple to look up techniques and things like that, or find a video like this and just copy the technique, right? And get really, really good at it, and then switch to another technique and get really, really
Mm-hmm.
good at that and switch to another one, another one, another one. And in the
Mm-hmm.
end, you just do your thing, and it's like water. It just flows, you know?
Yeah, what I've been enjoying lately is when I come across an artwork that I really like, or even someone's rough stages or work in progress, I like looking at it and trying to break down like, okay, how did this person paint this? Like especially for concept artists because they have like a few different ways of painting their stuff. I like seeing like when they go from black and white, like you were saying, and then later they add color under the layer or on top of the layer, and then like they work, they keep refining the drawing or painting. So just kind of analyzing that has helped me with my own painting process. So just the whole uh, idea of slowing down and observing has really helped me lately.
Well, and like in the future streams, I'm going to be inviting more and more guests to paint with us, Massey. The first one is going to be Jonathan Hardesty, and his painting method is very, very cool. It's very, very kind of translatable into oil painting,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the discipline that he comes from,
Yeah.
right? But the really cool thing about how he paints, and the thing that I'm going to really observe, is he doesn't do a detailed drawing. Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He slaps the paint on, very simplified and a little chaotic, and then it's like he pushes paint around
Mm-hmm.
and then solidifies it into something just right on.
He's like sculpting the whole painting.
Something's happening. You know, but like I see that with a lot of painters, and that's something that I'm like doing more and more and getting into more and more, is just slapping things down, and maybe an eye is too high, you know, just slap it down, and slowly you move it around, and you move the eye a little lower, you move the cheeks a little smaller, and so on and so forth, and you slowly start to solidify this thing. And it's not
Yeah.
dependent on a very accurate drawing in the beginning.
Yeah. Do you find that a bit more freeing in a way?
It's more challenging for me. It's way
Oh.
more challenging because
Yeah.
I know the drawing a tight drawing and then painting that tight drawing. I could do that with the utmost confidence. I know what that thing's gonna look like in the end, and I'm like so sure of it, you know.
Yeah.
So this is different, which I like. I like something challenging.
And I guess the whole like idea that you can take each layer that you're painting and adjust them and do quick fixes, it's like for me it makes me feel like, okay, I have a safety net in case this whole image isn't like, you know, coming together, so then I can fall back to those adjustment layers and tweak it. But then when it comes to just like slapping paint on, having everything in like a couple layers and not having the luxury of just adjusting like one section, it's I feel like it's definitely challenging, but I think it's really good to not rely on those like fancy you know, tech adjustment layers, because then it's like
10,000% agree with
yeah.
you. And this is exactly why, okay, for me, I purposely stayed away from adjustment layers for the last like probably like month, 3 weeks or so, because I was going to do that traditional painting.
Yeah.
And you can use digital painting to heighten your traditional painting and vice versa, but it doesn't mean that it will necessarily strengthen, you know, one or the other, right? If you're so used to adjustment layers, liquefy, all these other things, dodge and burn, you know, all this stuff, good luck translating that into traditional, right? It's like you stop once you're like, okay, this is when I adjust all of my, you know, values by like 3%, 7%. You're not going to do that traditionally. It's going to be crazy hard.
Maybe with watercolors.
Even watercolors is like, I see where you're saying, and you can a little bit, you know, just like acrylic paint, you could put in some thinner into your paint and then do like thin adjustment layers.
Like an overlay.
It's not the same. Especially try to do dodge and burn. Good luck. Right? That's even harder.
Yeah, it depends on, and especially if there's a certain watercolor look that you want, it's very hard to adjust certain parts, because like once you put a pigment on, sometimes you just can't get that pure white anymore from the paper.
Here's why I like watercolor even more, okay? It's because watercolor, unlike oil paint and all that other stuff, watercolor, nature paints it, you know, just as much as you're painting it. It's a collaboration. It's a magma painting, you know, in real life, right? And that's why you, as the creator, as the so-called creator, you yourself could never create the same watercolor painting, right? Because life takes over as well and pushes that paint around and does all sorts of stuff. So not even the master themselves could duplicate their own watercolor painting. I love that fact. So cool. Why don't we go on to another question? So
yeah.
Inkuru asks, is there a course or book you would recommend on storytelling for aspiring comic artists? I tend to get stories just pop into my head and disappear over a day. Framed Ink rings a bell.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Marcus Mateo. Chris Pern, storyboarding with Chris Pern. I know it's not comic books per se, but he, first of all, he's a director now, and second of all, Um, it's a wonderful, amazing course to learn about how different shots affect the viewer and how they can be strung together in different ways to tell stories.
Mhm.
And it really goes into fundamentals of storytelling, which is awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good one.
Also, if you're not subscribed to Schoolism, I highly recommend it because even if you don't like Chris Pern's storyboarding class, which I think that you will, once you subscribe to Schoolism, you have access to all the courses, every course on Schoolism, so you can just switch to another course and see if you like that course until you find the one that you like the most.
Just to go back to that one part of that question where the person was saying they have an idea pop up, but it disappears within the day. For me, I just like scribble whatever in a sketchbook, even if it doesn't make sense, as long as it makes sense to you, and you can remember like the context, the certain moment that you wanted to tell. You can always like refine that later on, and you'll remember what it was specifically that you know, what idea you came up with. So I would tell that person that's my advice.
Awesome. Also, Discord peoples, feel free to, hang out, chat
Yeah.
as well.
I was gonna say to always have your sketchbook in hand for moments like that.
Or you know, like a piece of sticky note or a napkin. I know a lot of storyboard artists, they do napkin drawings, right, Bobby?
Well, there is that legendary lunch meeting or whatever it was when Pixar was first starting. You heard about that, where like little sketches of Wall-E were on the same napkin or something as little sketches of Toy Story, of A Bug's Life, of Finding Nemo, all on the same freaking napkin or something. How cool is that?
Yeah. I think yeah, just putting it on paper, once it's there, like it's not gonna slip your mind anymore, because when I look at my sketchbook, I look there for like my own inspiration sometimes to like draw something from my own personal piece. There's ones where I'm like, oh, I totally would have forgotten that if I didn't do this little scribble. So I
And
think
it's
it's
so
even
nice. Yeah, it's so nice to even go back to scribbles that were incomplete thoughts. Because when you look at them
yeah,
again, it's kind of like looking at clouds in the sky, like you visualize more stuff, right?
yeah,
Now,
that's very true.
for you, Masay, do you use more of a sketchbook when you're drawing traditionally or loose paper?
Lately it's a sketchbook because my even though I feel organized with all my stuff, when it comes to sketches and art, everything is all over the place. So when it's like ideas, like just like pure ideas, I have a little sketchbook on the side where I just jot it down.
I've
So
I've
yeah,
tried to keep my stuff so organized before. It'd be like, oh, I have a sketchbook for ideas. I have a sketchbook
yeah,
for studies, and so on and so forth. It never worked for
hmm
me. I'm just not that type.
yeah,
But I do really
Oh,
like the idea of constantly keeping just tons of loose leaf paper everywhere. Put some in the
hmm
car, put some in uh, everywhere in the kitchen, wherever. Because sometimes when I'm cooking, I'll have an idea, but then the paper's too far away. But I'm cooking,
yeah.
I can't leave. So put some paper, in a drawer, stuff like that.
hmm
Yeah, just everywhere.
and you could make a scrapbook with all the loose papers later. Just gather
Yeah.
everything up and make a composition of loose napkin sketches from all over the place.
That's the harder part for me. It's just to find the time to sit down and make a scrapbook. Um, yeah, but it's a great
Do,
idea.
yeah. Do you think
Oh, and sorry, did I
no, no,
interrupt
go
somebody?
ahead. Go ahead, go
Oh, I
ahead.
just wanted to give an advice that helped me a lot. When I started sketching and using sketchbooks, I saw a lot of artists had small sketchbooks, so they can take it anywhere at any time. You just in your pocket, you take it out and just scribble an idea when you're free. But I can't do that because I need a big canvas. I just can't draw in a small sketchbook. That's a personal thing. So I just went everywhere with a big notebook. Everywhere. I looked like I was in a schoolboy, no matter in the office, in any place that I went. I just took a huge sketchbook with my huge sketchbook and just draw something big. I needed to lose the shame, and it really helped me out because I never felt comfortable in a small notebook just scribbling little doodles. I needed something big.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you. That's awesome. That's a commitment as well. Just bringing a big sketchbook.
It was annoying. Every time I went to the party with my friends, I just have my huge notebook anywhere. I just studying something. No, it's just for drawing.
I could imagine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
My little sister, she has a box of scribbles. So I like to organize everything in the new year. I get what I made the whole year and I put it in the same place very neatly. But my sister, she just had this huge box of sketches and she just throws everything in. And when she's trying to have ideas, she opens the magic box and picks 3 random sketches she made and boom, eternal content.
You know, something that I used to do, and we're trying to do this again, is you get a nice little box, generally a little bit bigger than a shoebox perhaps, and you label it that year, and that's your memory box. So you could put your favorite drawings, your favorite anything from that year into that one box. Right, your artwork, maybe you got a drawing from somebody that was like or a special birthday card or whatever it might be, a rock that you found with so and so, and you know, you put them all into that box. And the lovely thing about this is it's a nice size box. Perhaps it's like the size of a for boots or something like that, right? A little bit bigger than just a shoe box. So it can fit actual paper in there too. You put it into a folder, you know, so it's a little bit protected or whatever. You put in a box, and after a while, you get all these little boxes, right? And they all say different years on them.
That's awesome.
Right, and then later on, you go back into like 2015. Oh shoot, I was in, you know, Israel at that time. This sand is from the blah blah blah, or, you know, this birthday card, oh, this is from so and so just before they met this other person. I don't know, it's just nice. It's
like a time capsule.
Yeah, because after a while it gets confusing. I get confused. When did I paint that? When did I draw that? I don't even know anymore.
I do that for my digital art too. It's like because once it's all in a big file, then it kind of like all matches together. But when you separate them by year, you can not only see like what you've done each year, you also see the development, which is pretty cool.
And
So-
you see how productive you were, because some folders will be lighter than others, right?
And then it's like, oh, this year I only did this many artwork. So it's like this year I'm gonna try to push myself to do more. Yeah.
Do you impress by yourself when you look at your art before? Sometimes I look at my art before and then I was impressed. Like, oh, did I draw this? I really? Do I have this idea? I really? What? Just as
Me, not so
Do you have
much. I don't know. I more look at ideas. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that idea. I don't like how it's executed. Generally, that's how I am. I'm just being like, I do like the idea. So I still like the piece. I'm not that hard on myself, but I don't like perhaps how it's executed. That's all.
Yeah, I feel the same. It's like I look at it, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a good idea. It's like, good job, me. But then the technical part, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna say, why'd you do that? You could do so much better.
It's funny. I will. Yeah, I'll just say it anyways. Sometimes I literally say out loud like, "Good job, responsible Bobby." You know, when like I totally forgot something, but then the earlier me totally, remembered and was like, yeah, you'll probably forget. Let's put this over there. And
Mm.
then I go, grab my shoes and put my foot in the shoe and I go, oh, yeah, I need to bring this thing that I put in my shoe to the studio, perhaps, right? And I'll be like, good job, responsible Bobby.
Yeah, it's like future Bobby, learn from past Bobby.
Yeah. Especially if it's like at the end of a convention day, went out, partied with my friends, came stumbling home, and then I find, oh, responsible Bobby got all this stuff ready for me when I got home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Did you? Sorry, I think someone's wanted to ask something.
I don't think anybody's there. So you want to say something, Noah? Hey, Noah.
Yeah.
Right here.
Hi.
Oh wait, I hear
I
somebody.
hear someone, so
Yeah, I
let's.
think your volume's a bit low.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Let's
volume is
crank
too
up
low.
your volume, please.
I think it's Anna.
Can you say your name?
And we barely hear you. So if you can up your microphone volume.
Yeah, you can go to the settings.
Yeah. Maybe while Anne tries to fix that, we'll keep the show going. And Noah, you can ask your question, then we'll go to Anne.
Okay. So I was hearing your conversation, and I was just wondering, did you ever get to look back at a sketch that you've done way back? You don't remember it, and you look at it and thinking to yourself, what the hell is this? Like, nice drawing, but what was I thinking? Did you ever get like this kind of like moment?
You mean like what were you thinking as in terms of like the idea? Why the hell would I paint that or something?
Like, yeah, like what was I thinking? Like, I don't understand this drawing.
Not so much.
Oh.
I gotta be honest with you. I can't really think of any time. What about you, Miss A?
There's times when I look at a sketch and I'm like, what is my message here? Or like why would I want to paint this? But that's also a good thing because it's kind of just like kind of dumping everything in my head onto this sketchbook. So it's good to see that because then I'm aware that like this isn't the type of art that I want to have as my art voice or my art,
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually put very little emphasis on how good the painting turned out or how good the drawing turned out. I really don't care that much. I care like in the moment when I'm making it, I'm trying to make it as good as possible. And the thing that I really care about is the effort that I'm putting in. How hard am I trying to concentrate on this? Am I doing a million things at once and this is one of them? I want to make sure that I'm doing my potential at this moment, and if I could do that, it doesn't matter if the piece is actually turns out good or not. It's weird probably for me to say, but I feel like because of that, that's why a lot of the pieces turn out the way that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've been seeing like, I'm always amazed from very organized, orderly sketchbooks, and that every page is wonderful. Every page seems like a drawing within itself. And for me, when I use sketchbooks, and this is why I actually find myself drawing more on like simple printer paper, is that I go through a lot of bad sketches until I find what I actually want to draw. So it's like, for me, seeing a sketchbook that is like ready to show in a way is very impressive. But I don't know how many people allow themselves to show the ugly drawings.
I feel like there's this pattern in most artists generally, or I always I'm not gonna say most. I'm just gonna say me. I found this pattern where it's like in the beginning, I don't care, and I'm just painting and drawing. I'm having fun. Oh, these colors mixed together. That was really cool. And then I start learning about stuff, and I start caring a lot, right? And I really start to really care about how it turns out in the end. And then after a while, I stop caring again. It's like when you get better at it, for me anyways, a lot of the care of like how did the thing turn out start to shift towards the process, right? And just really caring about the process. Because in the end, it's like, okay, if you have 100 people looking at your stuff, yeah, you might just get 100 good comments or whatever. Every comment is good. If you have 100,000 people following you, there's gonna be some critic every freaking time. I kid you not. Watch my YouTube videos. Even before I start streaming, a lot of times there's a dislike right away. What did you dislike here? What did you dislike? You
That's
know?
dedication.
You dislike the thumbnail, maybe. I don't know.
He didn't like the composition.
Who knows? Who knows, right?
Or
They
maybe
didn't
they
like
wouldn't
Just
have
like to
lots of
hate.
things. Yeah.
Maybe they didn't want to wait. Maybe they were like,
Hey, that's the thing.
maybe they
2
were like,
hours
"Oh,
before dislike.
Yeah, the more people, the more you're gonna find, some people that are kind of mean, kind of jerky, kind of, just curmudgeon, just saying nothing but negative things. That's kind of like just how it is. Also, I found the same thing with cheaper stuff, right? When you price things high, you tend to get actually far less complaints. When things are very cheap, maybe to the point of free, oh, the free stuff, that's when you get the most complaints. Take a look at everything free on the internet that you use. And then look at everything that you pay for. Where are the most complaints? Twitter, YouTube, you know? It's the worst. It's like, what are you complaining about? It's all free.
Yeah.
Bobby, you just blow my mind.
Why?
No, it's true because what you say is really true.
Oh, it's so true. Magma Studio. Magma Studio, by the way, like this month, we're going to be releasing the pro version where you can get the custom brushes and stuff like that, like you see on the screen. We have, Masaya and I have been testing these custom brushes for weeks now. And we'll be offering this for a price, a subscription version where you get these features plus any other new feature that comes out in the future as well, as long as you're subscribing to the program. Right now, the program is free. And this free version will remain like this, free. There'll still be the free version, but watch what happens. When we put out that subscription and we start like going, oh yeah, you could pay a little money for this program, out are gonna come all these complaints. I'm sure. Of course, hey, I gotta say, I do feel like as long as your stuff is good, proportionately, you're gonna get way more nice comments, right? But you can have like 1,000 people smile at you and one person flick you right between the eyes. You're gonna remember that person that flicked you right between the eyes.
Yeah.
How would you advise, like, because sometimes, we're emotional people, and sometimes even though we know there will be bad comments or someone negative about our work or us, it's like, how would you advise, like, to deal with that kind of like discouraging interactions?
Change your beliefs. Change your beliefs. I changed my beliefs a long time ago, and it's been nothing but, nicer days. And the belief is that as long as you're trying your hardest in whatever you're doing, whether it's drawing in your career, with your family, connecting with your family, whatever it is, if you're trying your hardest, then you're protected. And bad things will still happen to you though. The protection does not save you from bad things, but every time a bad thing happens to you, it's because life is telling you you're about to get to that next level. As long as you pass the test, Noah, and that test is to put a nice, big, genuine, happy smile on your face, not the worried smile. You know what I mean? When you look at people and like we all do, and maybe smile at them a little bit, just going, okay, if you say so. You know, not like those kind of smiles, but a genuine, just be positive, keep marching forward, and life will show you. They will bring you to that next level. You know, you will get that unexpected positive thing in your life. And a lot of times you think about it, it did happen because you changed your attitude.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes, hey, sometimes, like the comic book app, it was nonstop just bad things happening to us, right? Which the final killer was like, we spent 2 years of our lives on this, we put it out, and it didn't sell the first like 2 weeks. Right? And a lot of times you think, okay, after the first 3 days, yeah, maybe after the first week, okay, your faith is starting to dwindle. That's the true test. Week number 2, are you still positive? Are you still working hard? Because if you are, then all of a sudden life will reward you, right? And every time you're not rewarded, we want to take on the belief that it's just because the real reward is that much bigger. That's why we're getting tested twice, 3 times, 4 times. And for me, I don't care if what I'm saying is true or not. It doesn't matter, because I know the effect of me believing that it's true will change everything, right? It'll change everything. And I'll go through that horrible time with a much more positive attitude, a lot happier. You know, like, that's how I see it.
Can I say something?
Sure.
To be honest, I actually have like OCD. I have like, I don't have ADHD, but like to be focused on something, like my focus goes everywhere to a point. However, I do like the idea of sketchbooks. I do like the idea of keep moving forward. It's hard for me sometimes, but sometimes it also helps me because I've been working on Chicken Not So Little for about 10 years now, and I'm trying to flesh out the story. I'm trying to be a comic book artist, I'm trying to draw, I'm trying to give them personality. But even though all that stuff is hectic in my life, it helps. Like, it's my coping skill, my art. Like, if I don't have art, if I can't write, if I can't draw, if I can't sing, if I don't have anything to do with art, like, I go crazy. Art gets me out of bad situations. I'm just loving it.
Well, that's really good to hear, too. That's really, and I'm sure it's very encouraging for others to hear. I also want to chime in there and let you know that, yeah, I'm pretty sure I got attention deficit disorder. I really do. I always have at least 5 things going on at the same time because of that, right? I start to shift attention. I start to wean off of this one thing. I'm going to just jump onto the other thing and do that hardcore for like 5-10 minutes until I get bored of that. Then I switch to another thing. I'm just constantly doing sprints throughout the day. So you can use those things that you might feel are disabilities and see, how could I make this actually a positive thing? Because there is positivity in pretty much, you know, most of our disadvantages. I want to say all. I really do. But I'm just going to say most because, you know, then the internet police going to come out there and go, but what about this? Blah, 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 blah. You know, so I'll just say most. All right? Um, hey, here's a really great
Those
one.
people who just liked it for waiting 2 hours for you to come on.
Well, let me just mention this one really great one. You know, there's this uh, there's this interview that I did with Jorge R. Gutierrez, director,
Mm-hmm.
right, of a Book of Life, and in the interview he talks about how he either feels like or he is autistic, and he said that's not a disadvantage for me though, because I don't, because of my autism, he's like, I can pitch all these different people my story and they could give me the most horrible no. And I'm fine. I'm just, okay, I go to the next person. And I just pitch them too in the exact same fashion, the exact same spirit or whatever. He's not diminished, because of his quote unquote disability, right? It actually gave him superpowers. Like, especially creators, directors, they especially need that kind of stuff to be able to take on harsh criticism and a lot of rejection, because that's what happens in general.
Mm. Yeah, because I noticed that sometimes I'll get like upset, like even when I was somewhere and I was really like kind of stressed out because I'm competitive. So I'm playing bingo, but
Sure,
whenever I
but
don't win, I
notice,
get upset.
notice your emotions. Notice how you are actually feeling. Because that will
I
stop
actually,
that feeling a lot of times where you're just like, oh, that's so weird. Yeah, that ticked me off so much. Wow, my emotional side is getting absolutely furious. And then think about, well, what's the
that's why I
person that
use
you want to be?
drawing because, sorry, uh, that's why I use drawing because I actually used it because I used it as a coping skill so I wouldn't be as more competitive. It calmed me down to the point where I'm like, oh, I didn't win. No, that's okay. I'll win some other time. But like when I don't have a coping skill, it's not good. It's not good. It has to be something that keeps me occupied because my OCD is a little bit different. My OCD is not like, oh, I have to clean up everything and I have to, oh, well, it fit with my art, but that's about like digital art. But other than that, I'm like, I'm not like the cleanest person. It's more like I am just, oh my gosh, I did something wrong. What did I do? So drawing helps me get out of my head and put down something on paper that I like. And I try to be original, but I like drawing fan art because I'm practicing and I'm learning. I don't want to really try to make my own original character
Well, you know what? Let
and
me
it
just
comes
stop you
out.
right there, just so everybody gets a chance to kind of chime in and talk and all that kind of stuff.
Sorry.
But I really,
I'm sorry.
no, no, it's totally fine. I feel like you got a good head on your shoulders. You know about yourself, and you're getting to know more about yourself and figuring out how this is all gonna work. That's a huge part that a lot of people, they don't even bother to really analyze. Like, what is it about this thing that makes me all frustrated? What is it about this that calms me down and gets me out of ruts? Things like that. So good on you. And we're gonna go to a Slido question as well, so that we get everybody's questions in. Okay. So this one is from CJ Rusoto, and he has a couple questions. So I'm going to go through them. First one is, what is the best course for character design? Well, I would say the ones at Schoolism, Daniel Arriaga. He was the art director for character design for Coco, as well as working on a bunch of Pixar films that are now absolute classics, as well as Wouter Tulp. He has some awesome, awesome character design courses on Schoolism.
Yeah, they're both really awesome.
Did you take? Oh, did you take any of them?
I took Danny's class with critique, and then I took Wouter's class on my own. Both really great courses. They both touch on the fundamentals, but then they teach you their own way of approaching character design, and they're very different, which is like really cool to see how, even though it's the same, theme, character design, but two completely different way. And the same with Steven Silver as well.
Yes, Steven Silver, love the guy, one of my best buds. He's no longer with Schoolism. He's starting his own thing, so wish him the best of luck, and you can check that out. I think Silver Academy.
Yeah.
Or you just look up Steven Silver, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Miss you, buddy. All right. Next question here is how many, and this is from CJ Rusotto, says, how many artists do you recommend studying at the same time? I want to study a specific artist for shape design, but I like the ink and faces of this other. For you, CJ Rusotto, one. Okay? And generally for everybody else, I would still recommend just one. If you are a veteran and you got your stuff together very, very well, then more than one. But even, like, I like to just stick to one. I like to stick to one frickin' painting for a while. Right? Not just an artist, but just one painting for a while until I feel like, yeah, I kind of get it, and I feel like I could paint most of this by myself just without looking anymore. Right? I love doing that because that's concrete info that will last for a long time.
Yeah. I think it is good to just study one at a time, because then you can really focus on that instead of getting different shapes kind of jumbled up together. I mean, that's also great, but being able to just focus on one, really, like, you get in the zone with that one specific artist and get into the mind of that one artist that you're studying.
Totally. Couldn't agree with you more. Hey, take a look at our paintings now, Miss A. My guy has recovered. This is the point where I was like, oh, thank goodness, it's kind of looking like something.
Yeah. I remember the first 30 minutes, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep going. I will try, but we'll see how it goes. But it's, it's looking like a snake.
Yeah, the wood really kind of confused me as well. I don't know about you, but it was like parts of it look like stone. So I wasn't really sure what the heck I was painting there.
It looks like there's like a hollow section, but then the left side looks like, it totally looks like rock because the color kind of looks like it too. But it was really cool. The shape and texture was very interesting.
I loved it for that fact, right? Didn't it make you feel like, oh yeah, I can use all sorts of colors to paint a tree?
Yeah.
Right? All sorts of different kinds of textures. Like, don't just be stuck on that one kind of brown bark and green leaves tree that you've been painting all this time.
Yeah, it's very easy to default back to brown as like this brown equals or tree equals brown wood.
Now, why don't we go to another question here? This one's from Brian from Slido. Do you have a course that focuses on how to study, especially master studies? I would say no. I would say no, but when you're doing the artist workout, many of these, it's like you have a subject, or you have the painting, or you have the drawing, or whatever it is, and you're not just studying that painting or that drawing or whatever, but you're seeing an artist, a professional artist, painting and drawing it as well with you. And I can guarantee you, if you could see Bouguereau painting that crazy painting that he did, without the finish, without the finesse, going from start to end, you will learn way more than just looking at the finished painting. Also, think about it. Are there any modern masters here? Do we need to always go to, masters of the past that are no longer with us? There are masters of the present that perhaps we just don't deem as masters just yet. you know, like Claire Wendling, I would say she's a master. She's a master of what she does, and she should be remembered for like over 100 years past, you know, past her lifetime. Same with Craig Mullins. You know, same with so many, Kim Jung-gi,
Yeah.
right? And so many more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I don't know if anybody wants to mention anything in Discord as well, but feel free. All right, feel
Peter
free.
as character designer, Carter Goodrich.
Yeah, Peter Desev, Carter Goodrich, for sure. Who's
Yeah.
another?
Hello.
Hi.
You left out Bobby Chiu.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you forgot about this shit.
Okay.
Hey
Who's that?
everybody.
Who's that?
You're too kind. I will wait for the day that the Wizard Bunny deems me as a 10, and then I will consider it. It's very nice, very encouraging.
Camille's Andre's watercolors are the most beautiful thing on this earth.
Oh, right on. Yeah, very, very nice. I really appreciate those watercolors. And when I think of watercolors, I think of Carcamo. Gonzalo Carcamo. All right, music.
Who is
What's going on here?
Okay, find it.
All right, that was fun. Yeah, Carcamo,
sure.
Gonzalo Carcamo, he is a master. Dude is the waterbender. You know, because if you look at his stuff, he goes from completely illustrative, like children's book stuff, to completely photoreal in watercolor.
Yeah.
Very, very, very. I can't even think of another person that could do what he does on that level. But yeah, there's lots of really good ones for sure.
What was his name?
What was his name?
Gonzalo Carcamo.
That's
He
so
was
nice
in
how you said it.
Lightbox, right?
Yes, he was.
He drew the pirarucu with the fish.
Yes. You saw it.
Watching him work is so magical.
It is.
Yeah.
He
I have
works
a
magic.
few of his. I bought a few of his paintings after he came to Toronto to make his schoolism course, and he actually taught Masay and I and Kay his method of watercolor, and we, no joke, over a weekend, we were noticeably better. Noticeably.
Yeah, it totally changed my way of doing watercolor.
Totally changed my way too, because I used to do it flat, more of the like Chinese watercolor way, which is like on a flat table. He does his on a slant for a very specific purpose. It's just really, really cool. He's able to control the water way more by putting his board on a slant.
Waterbender.
Yes, the waterbender. Carcamo.
My favorite piece that he did was, you know, the one with the fish? It's like at a fish market, and it's just like a bunch of like fish just laying there, and you can just like smell and feel like the wetness of that painting. That's when you know it's like, oh, that's a great artist who can make you feel that way.
What about, he has one, I don't know if you know it, where it's like these little kids' feet in the water.
Yes.
And you see water going over top of the feet. Holy smokes. That
like
looks so good. And then there's another one of a little kid on a big log, and it's more illustrative. I think he's holding a tiny little stick. Fantastic.
So good.
He just has control over the light.
He really does.
Just how he put the pieces together. I mean, even after watching him work, I'm still like, how does his brain work that way? It's like he can see the future, and he puts the color here, leaves it there, and then he adds another color, and he knows this color is going to mix with that color, and the white will prevail, and it's just beautiful.
Also, you have to, to get really good at watercolor, you have to have a sense of how wet the paper is and what it could do at that point, right? He knows that stuff so well. Like, he'll just look at your paper and be like, give it a few more seconds or something like that, That's not wet enough, that's not dry enough. He just knows.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. What's another good modern day master that we should be observing? Sparth. He's a really great one too.
Quentin Blake. Quentin Blake is a master.
Quentin Blake. Oh, that's
I don't know that.
Yeah,
it's the man who illustrates all of Rodolph's books.
Oh,
just the way how he draws people, and for me, he's a master.
Well, I was gonna say like Doug Chiang. I don't know if you guys feel him, but he's in charge of all this, like the Star Wars universe, and the drawings that he's done is quite insane as well. There's so many. There's too many, I think.
Right.
And we're living in a time that's really special, because now we can see videos of modern day masters working, which we couldn't see before. And a lot of these videos, it's like they're teaching you as well. They're telling you their thoughts, which is the total invisible stuff, right? Like even when you see a person painting, sometimes you don't know what the heck they're painting until like at a certain moment, then all of a sudden you see, oh, it's a canal in Venice or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we should explain a little bit of what we're doing as well, Masae, while we're kind of like on that topic.
Yes.
You got your scales.
I do, and I think this is the point where I started adding the highlights, the brightest sprites on the the scales.
I did want to mention something that I like about your scales, which is a lot of people, they might tend to just draw these lines out where they're all very even lines for the scales, and you don't. You have emphasis on certain aspects of the line, or certain certain scales have more detail than other scales. Can you talk about your thoughts on that, like as you're doing it and stuff? Or
so I guess when I painted this, I kind of had experience with painting these kinds of like a bit of texture like this, where it's like very repetitive scales, and it's all over the body. But when there was a time when I tried to draw every single scale, but then it just looked off for some reason, and I realized it's because there's too much emphasis everywhere on that specific scale texture. So what I did here was I indicated little strokes of the darker parts where you can see in between, so that it suggests that that's the type of texture there is. And if you look, it's not actually everywhere. It's only the part where I guess your eye kind of like focuses on. And then other parts, I did more of like a very subtle value difference to kind of show that it's like, it's like kind of a scale, but not really a scale, but you can sense that it is there. So it's a bit more tedious, but it does make the drawing or the painting feel better overall.
Not all scales are equal, right? Not all scales are made equal.
Yeah, and especially when the form turns, that's when you kind of want to make the scale a bit thinner because of the perspective. So that was kind of like a fun challenge to like figure out. It's like, okay, this part is bigger and this part gets thinner.
I love the fact that we are both just kind of putting it out there and not doing stuff that we are totally comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
Tackling subjects that we are a lot of times not comfortable with, which people will see in the future. We're going to pick things like a cityscape, which both of us, we don't really do that kind of stuff.
Not at all.
Yeah, but that's the point of the 90-minute art challenge, is that this is to help us get better in art, all of us, right? So even if the subject doesn't really click, perhaps just try it anyways, because a lot of these subjects we are picking because they don't click with us, perhaps. But then there's challenging things about it, right? So look for those challenging things, do these challenges with us, and you'll see that you're going to be growing with us. What I don't want is for people to watch these streams, not put their heart and soul into it, and then later on they're going to see all the other people that did are getting far better than us, right? Far better than you, the viewer, perhaps. You know, there are no do-overs in this life, and that's something I want to stress. You know, so think about how you're spending your time, you know, and take the opportunities that are right in front of you before they pass.
Yeah. Especially during the quarantine, it's like it feels like we have a lot of time, but you know, it's equal.
It's such an amazing opportunity, right? As weird as that sounds, it took me a while to get over it as well, but like this is a really great opportunity for us to incubate, to get better and better. Totally. Especially like not having to drive to work. I just save myself, you know, an hour a day at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And doing these paintings, that's like 90 minutes. So it's really just taking a half an hour out of my regular day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true when you put it that way. And it's like, you know, getting ready for work, it's like that also takes time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like directing that time to our studies.
Exactly. And for a lot of you out there, now you're saving time because you don't have to do your makeup, do your hair, right? Many of you don't have to think about pants anymore. You know, a lot of you are saving tons of time.
Yeah.
All right.
Bowie.
Yes.
I have a oh, sorry.
Maury, go on.
We were talking about art directors a little bit earlier, and I kind of wanted to ask you a question about that. You were saying that like being autistic can be useful because it makes you stubborn when it comes to like your ideas
Could
and
be, depending on which,
churning
you
your
know,
crafts.
which part of the spectrum you're on. But for him specifically.
Sure. Hello?
Yes. Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, for Jorge specifically, that's what he was saying.
Ah, okay. So I've been I'm a freelance illustrator in Philly, and I've been reaching out to art directors regularly every week, trying to find higher paying clients. But I wonder if maybe that's not a good thing to be doing right now because we're in the middle of a COVID and a lot of offices are closed and not actually getting my postcards or anything. I was wondering what you suggest for artists, professional artists who are like still working. Like, is this not a good time to be trying to, you know, work our way into studios?
Well,
or
yeah, for like that approach, I'm sure it definitely works. It's not an approach that we do. You know, in Imaginism Studios, generally we don't actually go looking for work. We look for ways to attract work. You know, and that's the main thing. Like, for example, Masay and I, we're not currently on a project. So then we've been doing these paintings like non-stop, and it's been awesome. And I guarantee you, that's also why in the last like 2 weeks we started to get offers again. right? And so I'm also kind of mentoring this person right now where she was just saying, oh, she wants to get into feature animation, this and that. And I was like, okay, well, don't wait. Just start working on it. Just start doing it. And so I start to ask her about her goals. And number one thing that, because I've done this a lot, number one thing that most people don't do well with their goals is have it kind of concrete enough. Like they say, oh yeah, I would love to work in any kind of movie, any kind of game or whatever. No. You know, what kind of movie? What kind of company? If you had to pick one, which one would it be? And then what director would it be? You know, get all the way down into it, right? And start doing those things. So for you, just start making your books. I would just start making my books, or, you know, making the things that I want to make, that I think would also be the kinds of jobs that are out there that I could do well. And I just start doing them. And then what I would do is I would start making ebooks or iBooks or whatever on the Apple store, because that's free. And iBooks, I haven't delved into it completely, but it is on my list, you know. From what I've read, and I've just skimmed over stuff, it doesn't look like you need a programmer to create an iBook. It's actually a lot easier for, you know, non-programmers to do. I just start putting them out there. That's always been my method, and it's not, I would say that this is not the method that you would want to do if you need money right away, you know, for people listening.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Like, what is a good use of your time if you're a working artist and you need to be making money?
Yeah.
But like always building your portfolio towards a direction you love and making sure it's cohesive and it's the kind of work you want to be doing. Yeah, I figure that's something you need to be doing regularly. Like churn out an illustration a month if you can, like on the low end. I think Jamil in your Schoolism program actually said the same thing. She makes like 2 illustrations a month.
Yeah, and she does quite well, you know. So I, like, for that person that I was talking to, and we're still talking, I'm still mentoring this person, but it came down to, okay, yeah, I want to work on an animated film. And then I was like, which studio? And she was like, Leica. And I was like, okay, so now you need something that will complement what they do, but is not going to be a copy of what they do. It's not going to be Paranorman 2 or something like that. It's not going to be Coraline 2. It's going to be something different. And we talked about it, and then we're like, I was like, what about Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings stop motion version that Leica Studios is making now. Doesn't that sound exciting? That sounds super exciting to me. And then she got all excited about it. She's working on it now. You know, Leica is not making this, but she's making it for Leica pretty much, you know, and she's going to put together an awesome portfolio with that in mind, right? And will that attract Leica to her door? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it'll attract Sony. Is that okay? Heck yeah, right? DreamWorks, heck yeah. Netflix, right? So that's how we work. We always are thinking long term in like creating a real good solid foundation and a real good defense against you know, rocky times.
Bobby,
Yes,
could I chip something in?
absolutely, Kofi.
Awesome. So, like, based on what you are saying, right? I realized that this is the same thing a person like Alexandre Zedik Diboin he's doing. So he has a personal project called Salt and Pepper, and he's been developing like artworks and character designs for the project. And very recently, I think last month or 2 months ago, he reviewed like a short gameplay showing the world he's building for, like he's building a game for the world that he's been developing. So like, and it blew up on Twitter, and people were like, "Oh my God, when is this game coming out?" And he just replied, "I've been working on this in my free time after freelance work." So like, just with that small snippet of a video game, something which isn't fully complete, he's already created excitement around him. So now it's going to attract a lot of like opportunities. Even a Nintendo can reach out and say, "You know what, we would love to develop this game with you. And what do you think?" So like, I think it's a really great long-term approach to getting a very sustainable career as an artist. Always keep putting out content and developing things that you would want to see in the art world. And one more thing that I'll add is on this same topic is like, for example, myself, what I've thought of is like taking old existing IPs that I love, which are movies or series, live action, and turning it into a cartoon show. So what would an IP like The Kingsman, what would an animated Kingsman show look like? You know, and putting together a portfolio, changing the characters into 2D and putting it out there. Like you can create a lot of opportunities. So yeah, that's the little I'll add to it.
Yeah, like Lord of the Rings, stop motion. I was kidding. That's what I just said, but it's all good. Yeah, you always have very good things, very smart things to say, Kofi. So very much appreciated. Um, yeah, we are done the painting. I want to give a couple last little thoughts as we're discussing. I just want to bring up some things that were coming up in my mind. One thing is there's a lot of really good advice, but believing in something isn't the same as acting on what you believe, everybody. There's a lot of really good advice that has been given here, and if you believe it, if it makes sense to you, I say you must do it. And on the flip side, if anybody tells you anything, including myself, please, think about it yourself, and if it doesn't make sense to you, you don't have to do it at all. Probably shouldn't. That was one little thought. Another little thought here is that if you think that there is nothing left to learn, it's the sign of a bad future to come. I was thinking about the Wizard Bunny, and he was saying that this is not challenging to him because there are no nose, there are no legs, arms. And if you feel like Wizard Bunny a little bit, be careful, because there are always more things to learn. And the last little nugget that I wanted to just kind of put out there is sometimes the way to find out what we really want to, what we should do, is probably to find out what we would want to do if we didn't have to make money. What would we want to do? Because if we could figure that out, you find out something that you love, you are far more likely to get really good at something that you really, really love and are passionate about, rather than something that you're not. And you feel like, oh, but this thing that I'm learning, there's a lot of good opportunities, there's a lot of good job opportunities, right? If you don't love it, it's very hard to get to top levels of that thing. And there you go. That's all I want to mention. Oh, and the last thing I want to mention, holy smokes. All right, so we're not so into snakes, Masay and I, but puppy dogs. This is the next stream, everybody. This is going to be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so join us again on this Thursday when we tackle the little Frenchie. All right, everybody. Any last things you want to mention, Miss A, before we sign off?
No, but the next challenge, you'll see me struggle, but I want to be very transparent when you guys see that. So
Awesome. Well,
it'll be fun.
we both struggle, I'm sure. And we'll see
Yeah.
everybody next time. Thank you to everybody that came in and tuned in. Thank you to all the wonderful people in Discord, especially Patricia and everybody that runs the Discord, Kofi, Noah, all the regulars. A big shout out to Jamie, that's always helping in the YouTube chat. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Jamie.
And, and a big shout out to my co-host, the wonderful, the amazing Masei Seki. Thanks, Masei.
Yay. Thanks, Bobby.
All right. We'll see everybody on Thursday. Take care,
Yeah.
everybody. Bye.
See you next